It's November here at Mapdec Cycle Works, and I thought it'd be an interesting time to show you guys some of the really tricky jobs that we're onto at the moment. So come with me and let's see what we can find. First of all, we've got Dolan in at the moment. They're typically a bottom bracket full of paint. Old members of the channel might know all about that. Okay, what else have we got? So we've got this time trial bike in at the moment with a Watt Shop handlebar conversion. Now this has been on here for a while and it comes back to us so frequently. I know it's really experimental, prototyping sort of stuff, but you know, we've had these cups of literally just leave it off because there's really not much holding these on. But the problem we're really having at the moment is to trying to get this stems to stop coming loose. Now, every time that it comes back in and we tighten it, it lasts halfway through the TT course before the rider then says it's feeling a bit loose. You know, we've had emails from Watt Shop to say, just tighten the bolts more. We did that until the actual steerer cracked. We got the steerer repaired. Now we're at the point where we're waiting for Watt Shop to get back to us with a new clamp, which is hopefully machined to some tighter tolerances to allow us to clamp that up. So also we never quite know what to do with all the stuff because the fairing doesn't fit. So it's always interesting working with this experimental stuff, but sometimes there's an awful lot of going backwards and forwards with parts as well. So that's been here for a little while as we negotiate with Watt Shop. Cannondale Topstones. If you own a bike shop, let me know how you're getting on with Cannondale Topstones, because we always have, I wouldn't say trouble, but very aware of the cable routing. You see on the bottom of these, they have these two bolts and it's right close to where all the cables exit here, and it's really easy to get a cable interfacing with the brake hose and the other side of these rivets. So you have to be super careful how you route those cables, otherwise your gear shifting just doesn't work. This particular one as well has also been, I think it's been put away wet because the clutch has got all really rusty, so we've got a little bit of sorting out there. Always top stones that seem to suffer that. And check this out. This is an electric trike, and this is into us for an interesting problem. So this is actually a Bafang motor. So we're allowed to work on Bafang stuff because we can normally contact Bafang, get specifications. The display on this one stopped working and it's slightly different. It's actually come from a company called Jorvik, which has got a rebranded display. So just to make sure we're absolutely totally okay with compatibility, we reached out with Jorvik. Jorvik weren't completely clear as to whether we could replace this with a standard Bafang component. So we've had to make sure that we get the right Jorvik one, just in case they programmed it differently for the tricycle. They didn't really know themselves. So out of an abundance of caution, we've had to order the exact Jorvik branded one, which is about 60 quid. It's just gonna take longer to get here, sadly. Hopefully, it's a quick fix. One of those things when you fix an e-bike, you don't know if it's worked until you start replacing parts. So there's an interesting one. We've got a giant Defy in for service, nothing unusual, but this particular customer said, while it's completely stripped down, I'd love it to get it resprayed in bright red. And we actually put the feelers out to a few brands, and the cost involved in us completely stripping it down, sanding it down, repainting it red, well, you can buy the brand new Giant Defy in red for about the same money. Right now, we've got that with the customer to make their minds up. It seemed a shame, but hey, red bikes are faster. So a little while ago, I did a review on the old bike stands and these were fantastic. This is the version 2 and they've completely screwed it up. Now, what they tried to do when they brought out version 2 is they just tried to pack in too many features that were unnecessary. What they've tried to do is build in a weight scales. I've got a 16 kilogram kettlebell in here because I do not trust to put a bike in this because it is so broken. It's really unpredictable. So a few things that they tried to add. One, they tried to add a light. The problem is this is just a C-shaped piece of metal, so it doesn't matter how tight you do this bolt up, depending on the temperature in the workshop, this just moves around and flops throughout the day and it ends up just casting a shadow where you don't want it. It doesn't work that well. The actual control unit, they put in a completely static location. So the old ones used to go up and down with pushes of buttons like that. This one is always in the way. You're trying to work on a bike and you just keep hitting it with your shoulder. So the other thing is when you do actually have a bike in here, the bike is in the way of all the controls. So you can't actually sort of push the controls. And if you try and do it, you end up moving the bike onto your hand. So you've got to sort of do this weird contorted thing. And they tried to be really fancy by allowing you to set the heights. The problem is, like I'm pressing the up button and it goes down. It doesn't seem to make any sort of sense. It already thinks it's at the maximum height of 175 centimeters when it clearly isn't. These knobs are all a bit weird. The stop one just rotates for no apparent reason. The other thing I don't like is that they try to counter this by putting pedals down on the floor. The problem is that all the various bits of detritus that come off your bike tend to just collect and get stuck down there. And this just becomes a trip hazard in the workshop, to be honest. So we tend to just unplug it and get rid of it. Now, the fault it has right now is actually fairly safe. The faults that we've been experiencing with it is it just not stopping.
It's gonna crash.
The worst fault we had is actually pressing the down button and it never cut out like the window on your car. It just power drive the bike into the floor and the whole thing tipped over. It didn't have the safety cutoff. It wasn't working properly. So unfortunately, we are sending this back. Unio have accepted to send it back, but this really is an appeal. Please, 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 just come back to version 1. This was fantastic. All we need, simple mechanics, a button that goes up, a button that stops, and a button that goes down. And we just want a good solid 40 kilogram weight limit on it. Talking of which, this one has a weight limit, but if you overload it slightly, either by doing a bolt, the whole thing just starts to move. So you'll get like a safety cutout and it will just dip down by a couple of inches. The problem with that is it then causes your tool to slip. So it's not a fit for purpose. Come on, Unio, bring back version 1, please. We've got a collection of Hunt wheels in, all from the same customer, but they actually brought in 4 different Hunt wheels. And we're sort of slowly working our way through various broken spokes and various broken hub components. And this always comes back to what I say about, you know, things like Hunt wheels. Like, this is what you'll expect. This end cap here is completely and utterly seized on. We've tried several things to get that off. We've still got things we can try, obviously, but you can see how much this free hub is chewed up here. The bearings on this are knackered. And for us, this always gives us that time to pause and think, hang on, what are we doing here? How much time and effort do we need to put into removing this? We know that free hub needs replacing anyway. Might as well just stop and get an entire new axle and put the entire new thing in rather than trying to waste our labour time trying to undo that. Because I think what we'll find underneath there is a pretty ruined axle anyway. And this is where it's frustrating dealing with companies like Hunt, because parts like this just aren't really listed on their website. Hunt have got a lot better, admittedly, but it's still a chore to try and chunk through and find it. So that's wheel number 1. God knows what we'll find in all of that. And while we're over here, we've just got a customer brought in this absolutely beautiful Moss frame. So Moss are a custom frame builder. And I want to show you some of this because some of it is absolutely beautiful. I mean, look at these really lovely smoothed out welds. Lovely skinny tubing. We've got quite a lot of work to do on this. So the bottom bracket is far from a good condition and needs an awful lot of chasing work. You can see all that rust and stuff in those threads. And here where that weld has overspilled, that all needs to be faced off. Also, the brake mounts have been completely painted over. It's not even a hint of trying to mask those off. We've also found out that the seat tube is slightly warped as well, so we need to go in there and ream that out to make sure we can actually put a 27.2 seat post in. I mean, the paintwork is okay. It's lovely thick paintwork, but there's definitely evidence of some paint runs. And at the bottom down here, there's some like orange peeling effect. It's and there's a big sort of paint blob in various places. So it's one of those things. I think the customer's waited so long for their absolutely beautiful custom, you know, welded frame that, you know, when you get a few paint defects, I mean, how much of a fuss do you kick up? We really sympathise with the customer on this one, but we've got a fair bit of work to do before that can be properly built. Dan, why are you walking funny? So you might have seen Dan on some of our suspension videos. Dan, why did we just catch you walking funny?
So for Movember, I've decided to run half a marathon every day, and I've got 5 more to go.
So to be fair, it started off quite well, didn't it?
Yeah.
And you probably brought yourself a new pair of running shoes on day 4 or 5?
Yeah, I had some trail shoes that I did the first few days in that just weren't good for the roads around here. And then I bought a road running set. And then last week I wore those out, so I bought a second pair.
And the funniest thing is, you're not a road runner, and you did a marathon sometime in the summer just for and giggles. Yeah. And then you did 1 half marathon, and then now you just went, oh, just give it a go, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I did a full marathon in September, then a half a few weeks after, and a 10K with a local club, and then half marathon every day.
Like Dan's our very own David Goggins. You're fundraising, so just tell everyone how they can donate money to this and what you're doing it for.
So it's for Movember for men's mental health. I think we'll put a link for my donation page in the description.
Yeah.
Just click on there and then give you options for how much you want to donate. And
Incredible. Watch this space. Dan's been doing a fantastic job. He's even been turning up for work pretty much on time and still doing a day's work as well, which is probably the most impressive thing. Well done, Dan. Links down below. Please think about donating and we'll update you as you get close to the challenge with more little shorts. Last one, Dan. Well done.
So we've just caught up with Dan. He's about 3 or 4K in. How's it going?
Very, very sore.
You got a bit of a boost though, haven't you?
Yeah, I've been eating a boom bar, and then hopefully we can pick the pace up.
Let's get it. Got some tape on your legs.
I do, yeah.
What's going on here?
Very kindly, Vic and Rich at Sports Recovery Kendall have been helping me out with massages, which have been absolute godsend, keeping me going through these weeks and making sure that my legs stay moving as much as they possibly can.
Here's Ty
Hello.
on the channel sometimes.
Yeah.
So,
I got
what's your opinion? What's going on? How do you think he's doing?
And that's hardcore. That I couldn't do that. Respect. And it's quality of work in the workshop still kept up. So can't complain. I mean, it's a sad sight to see, really, when I'm walking out with 3 cans of Pringles.
As you can see, the Unior work stand from earlier in the video has now been all stripped, ready to go on a pallet and be sent back. I hope you enjoyed this little look around our workshop in sort of late November and found it somewhat interesting. Are you experiencing similar problems like this? Do you find this sort of content interesting? If you do, get down in the comments, let you know, and we'll maybe do another little workshop walkthrough another time. All right, thanks for watching everyone. Take it easy.